you all decide to give Xander and AJ a little bit more extended run tonight?
The team we were playing, really good program, very well coached, very organized. Two of the more dangerous hitters we'll see this year at the top of the order. I was kind of cursing their name. You plan for the weekend, and they kind of shuffled up the batting order a little bit, but not that the other guys aren't capable, but those two guys at the top of the lineup are pretty special. And then their pitchers are going to throw strikes, and that's something we're all trying to do as coaching staffs, but they're obviously excelling at it. So we wanted to win the game and continue to just keep playing ball. It's a good way to start May.
You've been hammering home the last couple of days Wofford's pitching staff and how they pound the zones. I guess just how nice was it for you to see your offense have success against them?
Yeah, to draw 5 walks, I believe it was, but also just have at-bats that were consistent throughout the game, because if you isolate one at-bat here or there, or even a couple in a row at the beginning, it would be frustrating. But if you look at the whole kind of picture, those guys were really relaxed and yet dialed in tonight, and they did a good job against some really good arms.
What specifically did AJ do so well?
He was throwing the ball really well, and he's one of those guys, kind of like Redmond was younger here with us. By the end of the year, we're like, he's one of the guys we maybe should have used more. I mean, again, it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback, but there's a pecking order, and he's certainly got plenty of opportunities. But we've said before, like, this guy is good enough that by the end of the year, we're going to look at his inning total and say, it would have been nice if he would have got 5 or 6 more, but he's still got plenty coming to him. And now that he's been out there in heated situations, not just, hey, you get to start your own inning and get us 3 outs, I trust him in any situation. I trust him to close a game, to be honest with you, now that we're talking about it. I mean, that's what he was basically required to do. All of a sudden, after 5 pitches, you got bases loaded and facing a pretty good hitter. He's, been in Baum Stadium with a runner on, got a double play this past weekend against one of the more dangerous lineups in the SEC. So I go on and on. It's really good stuff, but it's also good presence.
Building off that, how high do you think his potential is here at Tennessee?
That's bad, because I've kind of said it to the team. You can go as high as you want. So I don't know if he can top old Luke Hochaver, but he can do a lot of things, I think. So it'll be fun to watch him. And I got all heated one time in the outfield is what I'm referring to. And I said, when you're starting on the weekend, when you're a junior, who knows, may do that before. Maybe his role is something that's really good, but it's not meant to be that. So, again, I was just kind of going on a tangent at the time. But even in my, where I kind of blacked out and thinking, I thought I had to know well enough he's going to be one of the better pitchers we have in this program for the next 3 years.
The guys were talking, they used the word special. You talked about how freshman, you trust him to close out a game. Just what, I guess, leads you to have that trust?
Yeah, I mean, you got to kind of have the right heart rate, and I think I've said it with you all before. We got a Braves hat on, and, Rocker was fun to watch do all kinds of crazy, no politics. I'm not on board with anything he's had to say, but it was really fun, and I'm not against it either. Whatever. But Rocker was a maniac. Or the better example, more fun one, is Charlie Sheen in Major League, to have the crazy closer. But the guy you want out there is the guy that's under control, and Mariano Rivera, you kind of the same guy no matter what the situation is. And for a freshman, him and Dylan Dreiling are 2 in particular, and there's a few others in that class too. Banky was like that when we threw him out there, for his first time right in the middle of the year, where it looks like they're just playing baseball. And we can ask them to do that as coaches, but it's a lot easier said than done. So he's got good presence to him.
Was what Seth went through last year as tough a journey for any of your players that you've had to deal with, and what kind of stands out about how he dealt with all that adversity last year?
Yeah, no, I think what it says is kind of what you got inside of you a little bit. And at the end of the day, we're kind of talking out there in the outfield. This is all about to see what you can and can't do. And when you compete in our league, it'll tell you, can you handle fans? Can you handle this, that, or the other? And I think if you're willing to persevere through stuff like that, it'll make you stronger, not just at this, but really at anything that comes afterwards in life.
Who's been the glue to this team as of late?
I mentioned Tom Wilcox when I went on my rant about middle of the dugout. He almost made an appearance tonight. We were missing 2 innings of baseball there. Jared Dickey, I think, has always kind of been a guy that guys kind of gravitate towards his energy. But we're starting to get to a point where, sorry to daydream a little bit there, but we're starting to get to a point where this guy's the leader of this category. This guy kind of seems to be the leader of this. When they're going to celebrate or do something to prepare for the game in the locker room, this guy's in charge of playing this song or whatever. And, maybe we could have orchestrated that earlier in the year, but they needed time to work through it. And it maybe took more time than other groups, but there's a lot of new faces. So you guys watch the game, and everyone can make their own opinion for, Blake Burke hits the furthest home runs in BP. But each person kind of brings something to the table, and I even mentioned a guy who doesn't have any action for us on the field. There's different ways you can contribute. It doesn't just have to be on the way to the field, and I think especially some of the younger guys are figuring that out.
How valuable is that to have so many guys that are?
It's huge because when you get into these games, I watched a couple SEC games, the end of them at least, because we're off on Sunday this past weekend. And you go 1-1, go into game 3, and it comes down to the 9th inning, and then comes down to the last hitter, and then it comes down to something like, we made a couple mistakes tonight. If we slide head first into second base there on that ball in the dirt, Dylan's probably safe. That's a pretty small thing, and everyone's going to make mistakes, but a series can kind of be decided by that. So if the margin is that small, then it's huge if you got a group of guys that are working together and picking each other up, and that might be the vibe that pushes you over the top in a series. It's 1-1, or just one game where it's a grudge match, kind of like we had this past weekend, where Mississippi State was up. We came back, then they get up again. We come back, and it's tied, and then next thing you know, Griff does what he does.
I know the results haven't been there yet on the road, but have you liked the approach from the team and how they've handled weekends away from here?
Yeah, the Arizona one was a unique one. We had guys missing in action, and it was our first trip, and it was an interesting tournament. 2 neutral site games, 1 road game. And so that one was quirky. And then you go into the frozen tundra, Lambeau Field, and they played well and we didn't. And then, everyone knows Baum Stadium and then also at LSU. Those are 2 of the tougher environments. Each weekend, to be honest with you, completely different circumstances and a little bit different vibe from our team. So I'd say if there's a complaint, you'd like some consistency, but we haven't really gotten in a rhythm where we're on the road and we're not, and we're on the road. So now we're in that rhythm. So it'll be interesting to see. And really what you want is your guys to just keep playing baseball the way they're playing here. It's really fun to be at home, and every SEC team that's really good is good at home. So it's better to be the hero. But sometimes, you get to go on the road and be the villain. Playing Bane would be fun too. You're not just Batman. Especially if you don't have that bad voice Christian Bale had going on in that deal.
What do you know about Georgia at this point?
For me, they got some guys that have been around for a while. That's the thing that sticks out the most. If you haven't heard the word, the names that are in that lineup, when you go look at it again, they'll pop up because we've played those guys obviously the last couple of years. I understand pitching staff-wise, they got a good amount of lefties. We got a good amount of left-handed hitters, so that'd be something. But we'll dive into it a little bit more. But that's the thing that sticks out to me is we're in that quirky period where we got, COVID is still a factor, as crazy as that sounds. So you got some rosters where you got some really older pieces or experienced pieces that are in play. And we got a few of those too, but they definitely do, especially at the plate.